Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very senior professional from Singapore, Mr. Ross Swan. Ross, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Look forward to talking.
Thank you. Ross is the Chief Executive and co-founder of Soul Inspired Leadership. He's a perceptive and responsive leadership consultant, coach, and trainer. And today we're going to speak about soul-inspired leadership and coaching. So Ross, before we get into soul-inspired leadership, tell me a little bit about your own journey and what motivated you to start soul-inspired leadership.
It's certainly been a long journey, Ashutosh. Look, I spent quite a number of years in financial services in Australia, so in the corporate world, running a P&L, I'm used to doing those sorts of things. And I gradually moved into coaching. It just felt like the best thing to do. And the reason being, coaching leaders to be better leaders, because I could see just what an impact a good leader has on people's lives. And that stretches right through their employees, their families, their greater family, etc. And conversely, what an impact or a negative impact not so good leaders have on people's lives. Either way, there's an impact because people spend a long time at work. So that's why I wanted to just help managers to become leaders and to really improve on that, because it helps such a wide ranging number of people in the community. So that was the first part of coaching. And then I've coached for the last 20 odd years. And over that time, I could observe that all the good leaders that I've coached and worked with, and I've worked with many, and I've worked with some, quite a few not so good, because I do a lot of remedial coaching I'm asked to do. It's just that when I found that they actually coach from within themselves, they draw from within. And that's why I call soul inspired. Some people say lead from the heart. To me, it's the same thing. But it's leading from within, because that gives you the consistency, because you are you. When you lead from the head, you're actually playing the political game. You're trying to compare yourself to be better than someone else, or they're better than me, so I've got to do something. So you're continually in your head trying to compare, and that's basic. And your own ego. That's what drives that outer ego to be the best. And being the best is okay. But wanting to be better than others is not. Being the best version you are, that's fine. All the good leaders, they don't play those games so much. They sit in comfort within themselves, and they lead with consistency, because they're consistently themselves. And the outside part, you just bend with the breeze of what's the latest wave of data and fads and all these things. Oh, I'll do this because people expect me to do that. No, do what you think deep down. I'm saying deep down in your heart, not your head. People get confused. So I'm giving a very long answer.
No. It's a fascinating answer. Thank you.
But people get confused with it. They think, oh, no, I'm listening to myself. Yeah, you're listening to your head. You've got to really be conscious. What are you listening to?
Very interesting. You also believe in bringing more soul into business. And I can appreciate, because you're talking more of the heart and from within rather than the brain. But do explain what you mean by bringing soul into business.
Well, I guess, look, if you go back a couple of centuries, business started with the industrialized world, generally speaking. And I guess a lot of people who were working in that sort of environment weren't educated. So they were basically being relied on, and they're being paid for their brawn, not their head. They're being paid for their body and muscle, basically, right? And then they'd go into manufacturing, still doing that. It's all about the body and the muscle, and being told what to do, because they didn't really know. These are very complicated things, or well, to them it would have been. But over the years, that's changed. We now live in a world where we're actually employing people's brains. We're employing them to create and think for themselves and create, collaborate, all that. And yet our leadership style hasn't changed from the industrialized world. It's changing, but not as quick as the world's changing.
Correct.
So and so it was very clinical at the beginning. Now to connect and create and help people want to create and be proactive and positive, you've got to connect with the heart because it's an emotional experience. And that's the difference. Business is too much in the head still. You connect with the heart, and you're basically encouraging people to be positive because they do respond to that. Very and so when they respond to it, then now I'm getting the input and the engagement that I'm desiring.
Fascinating. And over the years, you must have worked with very, very, many leaders. What are some of the leadership challenges you have addressed?
Well, the good ones I work with, well, you're just having a chat, but like talking to yourself, we are now. But like sometimes the most difficult people that you work with teach you the most lessons, which is quite often the case. Because people often ask me, how do you go from your head to your heart? So like, how do you get people to go to that? Because I don't go around saying, hey, you should be soul inspired. They throw me out the door, right? It's a bit difficult for them to comprehend. So you just take them there. So I'll give an example. I one person I was coaching, and I had a team of about 100 people, all in sort of, he was in the office, and they're all outside in little desks. And he played the head game quite successfully. He's always competing with everyone else, always trying to be thinking he was humorous, but really upset people with that humor, too sarcastic. But one day, and I was asked there again, remedial coaching. I was asked by his boss, he needs help. We've got to do something about it, or he probably won't be there very, very long, right? So one day he berated one of his staff, and I knew some of the staff because I've been around the office and sitting in meetings and watching him perform, etc. So I knew a few of them, and he's a good young man. I don't know, probably around 30 or so. But anyway, he berated him, and being in this sort of larger office, everyone hears it. Everyone sticks their head up, looks like, and watches it, and it basically becomes humiliating as well as a lot of other things, right? So I hear about it, and I'm meeting with him the next day, and he said, so I said, just a question, what was your motivation to do what you did with, let's call him Billy, right? What was your motivation to do that with Bill? He said, well, they're just not doing exactly what I want them to do, right? Like micromanager. They're just not doing what I want them to do. And I thought, well, if I berate Bill, he's quite popular and he's quite smart. So if I want to show Bill that you've got to be looking at what we're trying to achieve, what I'm trying to achieve here. There's no we, there's always I. And if I do that there rather than the office, everyone sees it. So I don't have to berate it and yell at every other person. They'll go, oh yes, we better be doing that. So I said, okay. I said, let's look at that, right? So when you look at the economic side of it, let's look at the monetary side. Do you think Bill was doing much work for the rest of the day? Now, what do you think about that? The impact of what you've said. Do you think his mind would be on the job? Oh, yeah, you're probably right. So how much are you paying him per hour? So we worked that out. And I said, look at all the other people around you. They're not working now. They're watching you do that. Then after that, their mind is, I hope he doesn't do that to me, or I feel so sorry for Bill. Their mine's not fully on the job. So collectively, we add up what's that cost. You just cost your bottom line budget just for those few hours. And I suspect it would have went on all day. And I suspect it's still going on now, albeit not quite as much. So we started to see the economic side of that. So I said, really, for half a day, they weren't working. So that's cost you straight off the bottom line that much. Well done. You've done well there. Amazing. Then I said, now, secondly, that's the head part. He can relate to that. And I said, secondly, now you know Bill, right? He's a good young man, and he's a real family person. So he's just had a new baby, and he's got a young 2-year-old son. He's 2.5, whatever it was. And I said, you imagine him going home last night, opening the door, going inside, and his son runs up to him and grabs him by the leg and says, how was your day, Daddy? Was it fun? And then I just leave it at that. And he thought it felt like about 2 hours, but it was probably 10 or 15 seconds. He thought and looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, that was a bit tough, wasn't it?" See, I've gone from the head now to the heart. See, now we get to, so he could actually understand that was probably a bit of tough.
Oh, interesting.
Only when he went to the heart.
Oh, interesting.
And then he went out and apologized. Now, it was too late. He's done a lot of damage, but at least he went out and apologized.
Correct. Amazing. Well, thank you for such a great example. You've also spoken about remedial coaching. What does this mean?
Well, it just means that example where
that you've given,
that people are being challenged in their leadership role, and the people they report to could be a board, could be the CEO, it could be the general manager, whoever it is. These are fairly senior people. You often wonder why they get as far as they do, but that's the business world. Sometimes they get far and they really go overextend. And I work with a lot, and conversely, I work with a lot of people that's transformational, that they're younger leaders, and the CEO wants me to grow them and work with them now, which I do. And that's always a lot of fun to see people grow and experience and their leadership growth. But you work with them because you've got to help them do something, or they're probably gone. And
I agree.
And people are going to want to lead, actually, Tosh. I'll give you one more example. This is quite a senior person. He actually is in a very large company, and they had several subsidiaries. Now, each subsidiary is about 20,000 staff globally, right? So he was in charge. He just put into the job running one subsidiary. So he's head of the global CEO, MD, whatever his title was, but he had 15,000 staff all over the place, right? So the CEO of the total business had talent management contact me and say, "Look, he's been there a few months and he's causing problems. I'm getting complaints, etc., etc. Can you go and help him?" So I did, and he was a lovely guy. So you really want to help him, but he just was upsetting people. He was micromanaging. He's putting his nose in areas where he shouldn't be. All these sorts of things, because his prior job, he just had one PA. He was a very, very clever business development person, and he used to do a lot of the major deals around the world, right? So, but he always wanted to get this job. He always wanted, because that's your perception. I want it, perception of growth is, let's go up the corporate ladder. Let's get now, I'm in charge. I'm head of the world in this subsidiary. I'm in charge of it. Yay, this was it. So he's trying to do his best, but that's trouble. Doing his best was causing problems. So we, over about 3 or 4 months, just through our chats, he started to change, but he always kept reverting back to what he was doing. And then we had one of our deeper meaningfuls. I asked him, I said, "Look, okay, you know what you've got to do here. You know what the role is. By doing what you're doing, do you really believe that's the role?" And he's sort of saying, "No, it's probably not." I said, "Because if they want you to be, he's an engineer. They don't want you to be an engineer. You would have stayed where you were." Right?
True.
This role is managing other engineers, not you being an engineer. This is the role is asking you to be a leader. So it got to a stage where he understood that.
Very interesting.
Said, "This is your choice." So he tried, right? He tried another month. I was still getting the odd complaint. So he's in another country. So I went back to him, and when I saw him again, I said, "So now, what have you done since? And what have you been thinking?" Because I asked you to reflect on that. And I could sense it. And I was asking the question, "Are you comfortable dealing with the ambiguity of people?" Because people are ambiguous, right? And he said, he said, "Well, have been thinking about that. No, I'm not." He said, "I just don't like all the people coming to me whinging about things." I said, "Well, that's your job. You've got to solve the problem. You've got to clear the way, clear the pathway, do all this." And I said, "Well, if you're not happy doing it, why? And that's your job. What's that telling you?" He said, "Well, it's telling me I'm probably in the wrong job." Yes. I said, "Because really people have got to at least enjoy 75% of what they do in a job to be good at it. You can't always enjoy everything, but 75% to be good at it. If you're only enjoying 20 to 30%, You won't be good at it. And he was looking at it and he just wasn't enjoying it. I said, so what are you going to do about it? He said, well, I think I'll resign. He went to his boss. They put him back to his old job because they hadn't filled it yet. It's only been several months and it was hard to fill. And he wrote me a note about a year later and said, Ross, thank you for putting up the mirror because I've got to be true to myself, see, soul inspired, not trying to listen to my head saying, oh, you've got to do this, you've got to compete, you've got to be the top of the tree. He said, that was my head. I'm so much happier. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I've got to keep moving on. Given your amazing background, Ross, how has your own background supported your coaching philosophy, your style, and your values?
That's my background. Well, background plays a part. It's a very important part. It depends what you learn from that background is the key, right? So it can be I'll probably say it's a critical part, but it depends what you learn from it.
Correct.
Are you learning from your background? Were you learning from your parents? Were you learning from your experiences when you're in your teenage years, playing in the cricket team or whatever? Were you learning when you first went to work, or you were just blaming others, or were you just saying, oh, I don't like this, and just think, no, I've got to move something else? You may not be liking it or enjoying it, but the key is you've got to be learning from it. Okay. And as I said before, you learn the most from probably your worst experiences. You learn probably the most.
And, how have you been shaped by a number of people? Because, I've had many, many people who have supported me, shaped me throughout my life, and that helps me when I coach people. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Well, and that's it. That's learning from people, and it's taking the good with the bad. Like giving those two examples, that's what you're learning. You're learning all the time about those experiences that then help you with other people. And I can, we could talk for a day, and I'd give you a whole pile of experiences of people. But you learn from it. So you say, what's this person teaching me? This is not, you don't run away from unpleasant people and just stick with all the people that you feel good with. You've got to take in if you're working for a very toxic boss, while you're there, sure, look for another job. But while you're there, don't just blame your boss and don't do anything. So what can I learn here? One, I can learn what not to do. Like, you're looking at things, so you're getting some value out of it.
Very interesting. Another question that I have is on culture. You're living in a country which is incredibly multicultural, very diverse. My question is, how does culture impact coaching and leadership?
I think people behave all around the world, not say in a similar way. The context is all different. But what they do behave in similar worlds, their behaviour is based on the consequences of those previous behaviours and how, either if they're toxic, how they've got away with it, what all those issues are. But the context is different. It's the subtleties that can be slightly different. The language nuances can be slightly different. And that can be even different in a country as large as India, because there's so many different languages and dialects there, and same as in China. But you just got to be attuned to those subtleties, and and I don't speak not many languages, but I speak the language of body language, and I speak the language of reading people, and that's the same no matter where.
Very interesting. So I've got time for two more questions. My next question is on older and younger leaders. You gave me a very, very fascinating example about a young leader and how you assisted him in understanding that he was maybe was a little too harsh on his subordinate. And this is the time of the millennials and the Gen Zs who are now getting into leadership roles. Based on your own experience, what are some of the areas these young leaders need to be coached in?
Well, I think if they're being coached or not coached, they should be coaching themselves. But my advice for young leaders is that all the good leaders I've worked with all have one thing in common. Yes, they lead from the heart, but lead from the heart means they self-lead. They lead themselves. Their self-leadership is very strong. They're they consistently believe in themselves. And that's not an arrogant belief, because they're not trying to, if they compare with other people, that's arrogance. All they want to be is better than the day before within themselves.
Right.
And if that means there becomes a good leader, then they're leading people, right? That's good. But the key is, and I've had a few younger people say to me, "Oh, yes, I'll do that once I get promoted to leading a team." I said, well, you probably won't be promoted if you're not doing it now. Show that you can lead yourself, because you can't lead others unless you can lead yourself. If you're just displaying that you can lead yourself and have the discipline to lead yourself, then you're in a better position to get promoted. And if you are, you're in a better position to succeed.
Very interesting. And would you have an example of someone leading oneself?
Well, just to give you an example of what they could look at doing, right? Just write down, if like, for example, let's say you're a young man and I'm just coaching you to move up the ladder. So, okay, Ashutosh, write down how you want people to describe you as a leader. And they write, and I get them, they write it down. So don't just think about it. And remember one thing: people only ever remember you for how you made them feel, not how you made them think. They'll only remember how you made them feel, rightly or wrongly. That's what they do, right? So people go through that exercise. Now, okay, when you've got this description, you're not writing a novel, just a little brief paragraph. Give them time to think about it. Then say, now, what have you got to do every day in order for people to describe you that way? It doesn't happen by chance. You must be doing something for people to do that. So then we work out the behaviors of what you've got to do. Right. I say, now you can do that now. You don't have to be waiting for people to report to you. You can do that now because they're all peers. You can influence. That's all leaders are doing, is influencing. You can do that now. So start doing it now, and that will lead you on the right path. And when you're finding it tough, go back to that checklist of behaviors that you told yourself you want to do. It gives you the resolve to keep doing it.
Fascinating. And my last question to you, Ross, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your amazing understanding and your own knowledge, what would you say are 3 lessons or 3 learnings you want our viewers and listeners to take away?
Well, one of them is that exercise. And I've seen people turn their career around based on that descriptor, where they've actually they've shown the discipline to work those behaviors, and they've turned their life around, their corporate life anyway, right? And now, if you're not wanting to manage people, but just being an important individual, because I'm an entrepreneur of one, whatever it is, just still write down how you want people to describe you. How you want people to describe you as a husband, as a wife, as a partner, whatever, right? And just do those behaviors. Anyway, so that's the important one. You're sticking to that. Second one is then is having that belief that you can actually do these things that you want to do. So because you're not having the belief, then something's stopping you. So are you true to yourself? So you've got to keep reflecting. Keep reflecting and looking at your little checklist of how you want to live your life. You keep reflecting on that. And then you look at, now, what did I learn today? Oh, that wasn't a good experience. So what did I learn from it? Or that was a good experience. So what did I do right there I can learn from? Or what did that person teach me? So you continually reflecting those learnings is the key.
Very interesting. Fantastic. So, and on that note, and your 3 amazing learnings, ask yourself the question, how do you want people to describe you? That's a very, very powerful way of trying to understand yourself. And as you say so rightly, understand yourself from within rather than from the brain. Second, you said was believe you can do it. And third, you talked about reflect and think about where you are and what you want to do. Thank you, Ross, for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your own journey, about coaching. I learned a new term today, which is remedial coaching. Thank you for the 2 examples that you gave and all your other thoughts on coaching. Thank you for speaking to me and good luck.
My pleasure, Ashutosh. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast. A platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.